Welcome to VSB News Online for Tuesday, September 1st. I'm Peter Cattell. Effective today, on its 50th anniversary, the Bermuda Regiment is to be known as the Royal Bermuda Regiment. This by command of Her Majesty the Queen in recognition of the regiment's contribution to Bermuda since its formation and its support for countries and territories in the Caribbean. The Governor and Commander-in-Chief of the regiment, Mr. George Ferguson, made the announcement today in the officers' mess of the now Royal Bermuda Regiment headquarters at Warwick Camp.
I think this is terrific news. These things are not at all automatic, and I am delighted that in the longer statement of support for this award, the notes refer both to the contribution that the Bermuda Regiment has made in the 50 years as the Bermuda Regiment, both here in Bermuda and in territories and countries in the Caribbean, but also specifically to the record and the sacrifices made by its predecessor units, the Bermuda Militia Artillery and the Bermuda Volunteer Rifle Corps. As I say, this is not at all automatic. It is a real honour for the regiment, and I think that all the members of the regiment, past and present, should feel proud that this award and recognition has been made. In due course, the name of the regiment is now the Royal Bermuda Regiment. The commanding officer and I, and all others concerned, the very few who've known about this, have agreed that there shouldn't be expenditure in these times on changes of badges and so on. So what will happen, I think, will be that as things run out, they will be replaced when new orders go in with the new name. But the idea is not to spend lots of money on a change like this, but anything new will be Royal Bermuda Regiment.
It is now mandatory for all registered charities in Bermuda to appoint an anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist compliance officer. And so the Centre on Philanthropy, in partnership with the Registry General, will be offering free workshops later this month to ensure these officers have the right skills. Elaine Butterfield, Executive Director of the Centre on Philanthropy, told Brian Darby why the move is important.
Under the new Charities Act, which was came into effect December the 31st, 2014, there is a section on a requirement of the charities to have a compliance officer who is someone who would be trained to oversee any risks that charities would be subject to based on funds that are funneled through charities, based on funds that are donated to charities. And this compliance is something that is regulated worldwide. It's just coming into effect under the new act in Bermuda. What we are doing is offering this training to a compliance officer of a charity in partnership with the Registry General, completely free of charge. It's a one-day training, or the training is for half day, as a matter of fact. And it is, we believe, not rocket science, but things that equipping charities and equipping their compliance people and their board people with the information to help them assess any risk that they might come across.
But charities being what they are, this is going to make life difficult.
I believe that is a misconception. Charities being as they are, having greater demand on their services and having less to complete those demands with. It's as a matter of fact, it's sharpening their tools, and we believe ultimately making them more efficient.
Is there any history of any anti-money laundering in our charities?
There is no history of anti-money laundering in our charities. However, with charities having to diversify their outreach, including, going overseas for funding, I believe that it opens up the risk of that happening.
Crippled by an $18 million debt left them by the previous administration, the new Corporation of Hamilton is struggling to meet its obligations and maintain the city's status as a modern, civilized commercial capital. Having once presided over that very thing as a previous mayor, businessman Charles Gosling makes no bones about the size of the challenge his team faces.
And having inherited the $18 million for the guarantee for the Parleville development, and that their lack of being able to raise money through the use of those monies, we are gathering an interest cost of about $3,500 a day. And since May 26th, when the judge gave the judgment in the court that this was indeed the case, has thrown us further in debt by about another $330,000. We have made verbal and written submissions in terms of how we feel that we are capable of coming up with the monies. It is reliant on a couple of things. One is the outstanding ordinance on car parking, which was overturned in Supreme Court in October of last year. And we are still in a position today where there is nothing to replace that ordinance. The loss of that ordinance is costing us over $1 million a year in lost revenue. That is something which cannot be found. That is something which is going to get slung around the necks of the ratepayers eventually. And I just don't understand why we are in a situation today where that ordinance has not been dealt with. We are also looking at other revenue streams, and the Minister Fay has been very helpful, very cooperative with that. The Premier has likewise. And we feel that they are in the position where they are going to offer us a revenue stream. I would prefer not to get into the details of it right now, but which would enable us very easily to not only to pay the interest rates which are due on this $18 million guarantee, but would actually enable us to do to get a loan. The three local banks have been very helpful in coming up with suggestions on how we could do it and how they would indeed support us in that movement. And I feel that we can pay it off depending on how you structure the payments, but at the earliest, I think it would be a 7-year payoff period. At the longest, it would probably be around about a 18-20-year time frame. But that is going to have a huge impact on terms of the city being able to do any capital projects. We're looking at alternatives of how to actually bypass that and maybe come up with a bond issuance with the proper government guarantees. Obviously, that we would be able to make our at least make the interest payments due on that.
In the second part of this interview, Mayor Gosling talks about the demands of the upcoming America's Cup Series and the part the city will need to play. The National Office for Seniors and the Physically Challenged has been rebranded. Formed in 2000, the office now becomes the Aging and Disability Services and provides a diverse portfolio of services. In part one of a two-part interview, Keith Simmons, Accessibility Officer for ADS, explains.
Well, the purpose of the name change comes from the clientele that we serve. As maybe we were talking earlier, like the National Office for Seniors and Physically Challenged, we just don't deal with persons with physically challenges. We deal with everyone, every disability, learning, cognitive, whatever the case may be. So we must come up in line, and that's why it's now Aging and Disability Services. Before it was separating the disabilities, and the office just doesn't deal with that one demographic of people.
Now, does the name change increase the demands on the organization?
Not really, because all along we've been dealing with everyone, not just with physical disabilities. You know, the learning, the mental, cognitive, We help everyone, no matter what the disability is. We try to help as much as possible, and then we work with stakeholders that are out in the field that has more services than what we can offer. We combine our services to better serve.
Now, keep hearing this term aging in place. Precisely what does that mean?
Yeah, well, as you know, government has this national aging plan, and what it means is trying to keep a loved one or one at home or where they're presently located as long as possible, putting services in place for them no matter of age or their ability. So instead of, if we can stay away from putting someone in a rest home or a nursing home, we're just looking at all the services we can put in place. We go in, assess their property or their home where they are, see how best we can make it fit for everyone to make it usable.
So this also will assist, I suspect, in relieving people of being at the hospital extended care?
Yes, that's what we're looking at. Because I think, having someone at home longer, it's better for their health and their overall being if they're with their families. Instead of being, some people may feel, you're putting me away, and they start to deteriorate faster. I think once they're out in the mainstream, their overall health is a lot better.
Tomorrow, Mr. Simmons reveals a universal design seminar and trade show in the offing for the sole purpose of adapting the home for future needs. And we'll be back with more news right after this.
In an effort to make Bermuda's roads safer, and in partnership with Bermuda Police Service and the Bermuda Road Safety Council, DeFon's Broadcasting is launching a safe driving campaign. Complete with thumb bands, come into DeFon's Broadcasting and 94 Reed Street and make the commitment to drive safer and slower for yourself. Your voice could be featured on the radio. Get yourself a thumb band as a reminder of your commitment to drive safer and with fewer distractions. While you're at it, why not get one for someone in your life who also needs a reminder that our roads do not discriminate. They can take anyone's life. Let's drive safe, Bermuda, and arrive alive. Peace and love. Safe journeys.
Just over a year since he was appointed Chief Executive of Bermuda's Regulatory Authority, veteran Canadian energy guru Robert Watson has resigned for personal reasons. Chairman Carl Musson said that while the timing was regrettable, he had every confidence that the authority's staff would be able to run things until a new chief executive was on board. Said Mr. Musson, "We have a number of irons in the fire and will update the public as quickly as we can to our progress. In the meantime, we will retool resources as we prepare to take over regulation of the electricity sector in Bermuda." Kyle Masters, the authority's legal advisor, has been appointed interim chief executive. HSBC Bank Bermuda is to get a new boss. After 6 years as CEO, Richard Mosley is to hand over the reins to Mark Watkinson, effective November the 2nd. Mr. Watkinson is currently CEO of HSBC Bank Malta, and in his 29 years with HSBC has held senior management positions in various countries and businesses. His prior assignments included head of commercial banking in North America, executive vice president commercial banking in Canada, CEO Bank Philippines, and positions in Hong Kong, the UK, and the United Arab Emirates. In thanking Mr. Mosley for his firm leadership and his creation of an excellent customer franchise, Board Chairman Philip Butterfield said that Mr. Watkinson's international experience made him an ideal replacement. The police have detained a 19-year-old teenager after he had barricaded himself for 7 hours inside a Warwick home while in possession of a bladed article. The detention ended a standoff during which the police sealed off the area. Chris Lodge has the story.
Police attended the report of a man with a bladed article at a residence on Easdale Lane at about 1:25 in the afternoon. They described the teenager as in distress. A police spokeswoman saying, as a result of the incident that took place on Easdale Lane in Warwick, police were able to detain a 19-year-old male under the Mental Health Act. He's being transported to Mid-Atlantic Wellness Institute, where he will be assessed. The incident went without any reported injuries, and we thank members of the public for their patience. Shortly before 4 p.m., police officers had surrounded the house and a negotiator was on the scene. The road remaining cordoned off with several police vehicles, including 2 public order vans and an emergency response team standing by. That standoff lasting 7 hours. I'm Chris Lodge, VSB News.
Bermuda has scored a coup in the global insurance world with the decision of the Qatar Insurance Company to transfer the seat of incorporation of its subsidiary Qatar Re from the Qatar Financial Center to Bermuda, where it will become a Class 4 reinsurer regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority. It will merge with Qatar Insurance Group's existing Bermuda reinsurer, Antares Reinsurance, which will increase its capital base to $500 billion. A company spokesman said the move would consolidate capital and enhance the international scope of its business and proximity to clients. And now we turn to Earl Baisden with the latest from the sports desk.
Bermuda's 4 athletes and 2 coaches headed out this morning on their way to Samoa for the Youth Commonwealth Games 2015. Bermuda's track and field team of David Darrell, Tajay Taylor, and Tiara De Rosa will be coached by Terry Lynn Painter, who is looking to make sure that the athletes remain calm heading into competition.
Just briefly to relax and enjoy themselves. They've done all the hard work. Now it's time to reap the rewards of their hard work. And hopefully that they can strive to have some PBs. That's what we're looking for, PBs, and we'll be satisfied.
Now, the fact that you've competed internationally, does that bring back memories for you on how you had to settle your nerves and go into competition and try to, as you say, PB?
Yes, very much so. I know going into competition, I have butterflies every single competition, and I do believe that's a good thing because that helps you to realize that you could strive for the sky, reach for the sky, and if you don't catch a cloud, you might catch a star.
Cynthia Armano will be watching over her daughter, Susanna Armano, as she represents Bermuda in squash, which is something new to the coach.
We have had discussions. She is very good at directing me what kind of coaching she likes, what works for her. Basically to keep her positive through the game is what we'll be looking for. And yeah, just take some of those directives along with her that the coaches have already given her, and I'll be just reiterating those comments.
Recently, a fundraiser was hosted at Red Steakhouse for Parapan gold medalist Jessica Lewis, which her coach Ken Tom flew in to be a part of. Many would have thought that Lewis would take some time off before she prepares for the World Championships, but Coach Ken had Lewis back on the track the morning after the fundraiser. Coach Ken explains his method and strategy when coaching athletes.
I think it's first is understanding the athlete. The athlete has to want to do it, and once you have an athlete like Jessica who's willing to do all the things that you ask her to do, we have a really good relationship as a coach and athlete, and like we always joke with everybody that we're a team. We're symbiotic on the days. You have to understand what they're doing, what their mindset is, when they don't want to be practicing and sort of get around all that. And she's willing to do the hard work in it. So with us, it's been an easy journey. It's making those changes because she's willing to do anything I ask her to do.
Now, last night you had a presentation how you actually coach. Some of the tips that you used were very inspirational to the people that were able-bodied, because they came up to you afterwards and said, you know, inspiration. But can you share just some of the small ones what you use as a mind and body to get the person to do what they need to do?
I think the first thing is always, if we think of every child growing up, what's the first thing we always hear? We always hear negatives. You know, when you're a toddler and you reach for something, your parents go, no. So from a very early age, everything is negative. No, I can't do, can't do, can't do. So I like to try to take my athletes and show them everything that we're going to do. So things like the words, all my athletes will tell you, I don't accept, there's no such thing as the word can't, because we will find a way to do anything we want to do if there's a will.
The 2015 World Optimist Championships continued in polling, with team racing taking center stage. Bermuda's team of Tate Stefano, Michael Reyna, Campbell Patton, Camille Chingaret, and Luke Medeiros were all in action. Team Bermuda would take to the Bravo course and went down to Hungary in their opener, but they were able to beat Israel in their next match. They advanced to face Slovenia, which they were defeated. After a weekend of cricket drama that saw Cleveland County do something they have not done for generations, and that is to be the Eastern County Cup holders on 6 consecutive occasions, while the sad side saw 3 matches with different reasons all either abandoned, cancelled, or not played. We now take a look at some of the top performers of the weekend. In the batting department, Treadwell Gibbons from Cleveland County was the top scorer for the weekend with a knock of 100 not out in his team's Premier Division win over Southampton Rangers. O.J. Pitcher from St. David's Cricket Club had the second best knock of the weekend, scoring 93 runs against Cleveland County in the Eastern County match. Alan Douglas Jr. scored 66 for Cleveland County against Southampton Rangers. With figures of 9.3 overs, no maiden, 6 for 33, saw Jamie Smith from Devonshire Recreation Club return the best figures of the week in the bowling department in his First Division team's win over the Bermuda Under-18 squad. Detroit Smith from Cleveland County was the week's second top bowler, returning figures of 10 overs, 1 maiden, 4 for 52. With figures of 10 overs, 3 maidens, 3 for 16, saw Gennaro Tucker from Southampton Rangers have the third best figures of the weekend. A dominant Arsenal ran Jair Parfit Williams and his West Ham United Development Squad teammates ragged at the Emirates Stadium. Parfit Williams was seeing action for the first time in some 3 weeks as he recovered from an injury. However, he only played the first half. Meanwhile, Quintino Lima and his University of North Carolina at Greensboro men's soccer teammates went the distance and then some in their 2015 season opener as they hit the road and came away with a 1-0 double overtime victory over Atlantic Coast Conference foe Virginia Tech at the Thomas Field. With Tyler and Nikki Butterfield competing in the Ironman 70.3 World Championships in Austria, another competitor from Bermuda also took to the course. Matt Thompson finished 84th in the men's 45 to 49 age group, clocking 5 hours, 6 minutes, and 30 seconds. Thompson was clocked at 30:06 on the swim, 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 57 seconds on the bike course, and 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 15 seconds on the run course. The University of Weston's women's field hockey team will have 3 Bermuda players on the roster as Constance Francis joins Jennifer Chisnow and Heather Sinclair. The trio, along with their teammates, will get their season underway on September 19th when they take on York University. The next day, they will face off against McGill. I'm Earl Beeston reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Wednesday, September 2nd, there will be sunny periods with a few showers and a chance of thunder. Winds will be west-northwesterly, light to moderate, backing westerly in the afternoon, becoming variable and light during the evening. We are expecting a high near 84 Fahrenheit and a low near 77 Fahrenheit. This weather forecast is courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Thank you for watching VSB News Online for Tuesday, September 1st. I'm Peter Kitzel.